Okay, I think we are good on that. Now, I was saying that today I feel like I want us to handle something still on the same, but just a small walking away from the oral songs and the oral poetry, because I believe with the information that we did last on Monday, then that should set us up on a better plane. Sorry, as far as that section, the oral songs and the oral poetry is concerned, we should be able to answer questions now. And like we said, one of the things that we'll keep doing is exposing ourselves to as many questions as possible. And because that is the only way to revise. Now, while we are at that, there's some two stylistic devices that I wanted to talk about. Even as you talk about the poems, there's some styles that we saw, and I would want to raise them because we will come across them when you're dealing with excerpts, because excerpts is coming up soon. But I thought at this moment we probably may discuss it here, so that tukifika huko we will not. You see, we've already dealt with most of the styles. We've talked about the sound patterns, we've talked about repetition, we've talked about the imagery, we've talked about contrast, juxtaposition, and all that. We talked about irony. So we've covered most of the styles, and those styles are the same ones that will be used when we're dealing with the excerpt. So I don't want to get to the excerpts and then I'm having to come back to the styles, because these are the notes we will use when it comes to the styles in the excerpt. So kindly look at where you are writing the styles for the poems, and then let's carry on from there. There's some two styles I'd want us to look at very keenly. And number one, I don't know, did we discuss about flashback and foreshadowing? Because I want us to talk about satire. But before I go to satire, let me just confirm whether we did flashback and foreshadow. Did we? Mm-hmm. Did we look at foreshadowing and flashback?
Mm, yes, teacher.
So we covered that. So we are okay. We don't have to go back to that.
Mm.
Okay, fine. But we didn't look at satire, did we? Satire.
No, 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 no.
Sawa sawa. That's what I want us to look at. So let's have a look at that. What is satire? Satire, let me just type it down. I realize that sometimes we imagine that the students will get the spelling, and sometimes it's not the case. Satire, Satire. What is satire? Can somebody check for us? Maybe you can just check for us. Or what do you know it's satire? In your own definitions, or from Google or from wherever. What is satire? I'm waiting for you to tell us.
For me, I understand satire as mockingly or mock
Mm-hmm.
or talking sarcastically.
Okay. Mocking something or talking sarcastically. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's a good to know. Mm-hmm. Monica, you have an idea?
I think to me, satire is like, okay, the way I understand it, somehow like irony, but
Mm-hmm.
I would wish kama ungetueleza pia zaidi to the way we understand it.
Okay. Okay. Fine. Let me begin by saying it's not far from what you're saying. It's not very far from what you're saying. But I realize that students struggle. Students have a way of struggling with these. with this. Just give me a minute. Give me a minute. I need to respond to a certain call. In the meantime, maybe you can Google, just Google what it is. Able Google, and then you post it here. What satire is, then I respond to. Anybody who's gotten the definition of satire?
Yeah, according to the way they've said, the way I understand
Yeah.
it, they say
Mhm.
satire, it is somehow I mean mocking something or in order somebody to reform.
Mocking
Something like that.
something, mocking somebody in order to reform.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Domi, what did you say?
It is use of humor, irony, exaggeration, or ridicule to expose and criticize.
Okay. The key word there is to ridicule or criticize. Very good. Now let me try to explain what satire is. I would want us to understand that stylistic device because one, it is one of the major styles that we have. It's one of the major styles that we have. And it's a style when you understand it, you realize that you may not struggle with that question on style, on satire, because it's very common. It's very common. I'll begin by explaining that every time when you're writing something like a book, I mean a story, that's a narrative, a poem, a song, a speech or something, there is the message you want to communicate. There is something you want to tell the audience, the people who are listening to you. Sometimes the message is not to encourage. Sometimes the message is not to cheer somebody on because they've done something good. Many times, the reason why people write things or come up with literary content texts is because there is something they have seen happening around them in the society, in the families, in their lives, in the lives of other people, and you feel that this is something that needs to stop. This is something that needs to be addressed. This is something that needs to be corrected. And so, at the back of your mind, whatever you're doing, when you're writing what you're writing, you're doing it so that you can you can send a message, you can correct something, you can ridicule something, you can make fun of something, you know, and you really would want that something or that somebody to change from from what they have been, to change from what they have been doing. And so when you look at some of the texts we are reading, like for example, let's talk about the fathers of nations. And it highlights the quality of leadership we have in Africa. It highlights the kind of leaders that are leading us and how they have failed to function as fathers of nations. Like there's this expectation we have that a father should do. But now, unfortunately, the leaders that we see in the fathers of nations, the text, they do not measure up. They are way below. They are way below the expectation. So what does Paul Bivita do? He wants to criticize those heads of state. He wants to criticize the so-called fathers. And he wants to actually highlight that how you people do things is not the right way. Whatever you're doing is not what we expect of you. There's so much irony because we expect you to do something different. But what you're doing is contrary to our expectation. And so, whatever he is writing, whatever he is saying, is to criticize, it is to ridicule, it is to make fun of something. And so, when you talk about satire, satire is that whole aspect of wanting to correct something, but how you put it, how you put that correction, how you put that critique, how you put that that making fun of, it's in the very guarded way. Hakuna mtu anaweza kukupeleka kotini ati criticize, make fun, umemtusi, there is a way you can do that without it looking so obvious. And that's why we are talking about the element of humor. It is done it's done in such a hidden way sometimes, but we all know when you look at that text, when you look at what the author is saying, you actually can tell that actually the author is correcting a certain vice in the society. The author is trying to raise a certain concern that needs to be addressed, not just now, but even into the future. There's some things that we need to stop doing. There's some things that we need to do right and so on. And so when we talk about satire, therefore, we are saying it is that aspect, it is a style that is used to do that, to criticize, to mock, to ridicule, to correct and all that, but it's done in a way that is very safe and very subtle, so to speak. It's in such a subtle way, such that how is Yona like the way we can, it's like sarcasm. When somebody is being sarcastic, you actually can confuse what they have said. And if you're not sharp, you will actually think that the person means the opposite. They don't mean that. Why? Because they have said it in a very indirect way. So satire in this case is where the author decides to criticize, to make fun, to mock, to ridicule what is not going on well or what is going wrong in the society, in families, individuals' lives, but he does it in a very subtle way. He does it indirectly. He does it in a hidden way. But when you look at it, actually that person is criticizing. That person is making fun of something. That person is correcting something that he thinks is not okay. Now, therefore, we use that word. We say the person is satirizing. Satire. The person has satirized. The poet has satirized, So the use of satire is very broad because ni ngumu sana ukutane na kitabu or a story where satire is not used. Most of the times, it's what we call the moral of the story. Most of the times there is something we call the moral of the story, and we are saying that this is what we expect that should be done or not done. And so in this case, therefore, we are saying the author has satirized this and this behavior. Now, when you look at the fathers of nations, for example, and maybe you're having an excerpt, and then unaulizwa, what stylistic devices do you see? You should comfortably use the word satire, the style satire, but you need to highlight it. For example, when you see let's say, for example, when we have the police who are erecting roadblocks and harassing the pedestrians and the motorists and making even the taxi guy driver to even, take him na hapo nyuma and turn him upside down and make sure that the coins that he had all the money is taken. So what are we saying? When the author is raising that issue, he is satirizing that behavior. He is satirizing corruption. He is mocking the corrupt police officers and the security guards. If you come across a place like where the politicians are doing something wrong, like the new ruler in Zimbabwe, when he decides to kill Ziliza and have Comrade Melusi harassed and disadvantaged simply because they voted for they voted for his rivals. Now what is the author doing? He is satirizing, he is criticizing, he is making fun, he's actually mocking that behavior where a leader is so irresponsible, he does not, do all the things as he's expected. So when you use the style satire, you need to show what is this evil, what is this vice, what is this problem that you feel that the author is telling us we expect better. We expect you not to do this because this is not okay. So that we call satire. I don't know whether that makes sense to us.
Yes, madam.
Sorry?
Yes. Yes.
You do it? Sawa sawa. Now, let me just ask, when you go back to the poem, you remember the poem we are doing, The Death of My Father? That poem, do you think there is any use of satire? Just think about it. I hope you can remember the poem. Do I need to share the poem?
Yes, madam, so that we can confirm from there.
That's what I'm doing. Hope I'll find it easily. Oops. Can I find it? Hey, is there anybody who can find yours? Me, I can't find mine. I don't know why.
Yes.
You can find it. Maybe you can read it for us, just to remind ourselves now that we had covered it well.
Okay, let me read.
Oh, sorry, I found it. I found
Okay.
it. Maybe you can just read for us as you can see it.
Okay,
And when
Death
you're
of
reading, just ask yourself, what do you think the poet was trying to criticize? Is there something the poet was trying to mock, to ridicule? Is there something that you think the poet was trying to communicate and therefore is discouraging the society from doing that? Do you think there is use of satire? Go ahead.
Death of my father. His sunken cheeks, his inward-looking eyes, the sarcastic, scornful smile on his lips, the unkempt, matted grey hair, the hard, coarse, sandpaper hands, spoke eloquently of the life he had lived, but I did not mourn for him. The hammer, the saw, and the plane, these were his tools and his damnation. His sweat was his ointment and his perfume. He fashioned dining tables, chairs, wardrobes, and all the wooden loves of colonial life. No, I did not mourn for him. He built colonial mansions, huge and wildly arrogant constructions, but he squatted in a sickly, muddy house, with his children huddled stuntedly under the bedbug bed he shared with mother. I could not mourn for him. I had already inherited his premature old age look. I had imbibed his frustration, but his dreams of freedom and happiness had become my song, my love. So I could not mourn for him. No, I did not shed any tears. My father's dead life still lives in me. He lives in my son, my father. I am my father and my son. I will awaken his sleepy hopes and yearnings, but I did not mourn for him. I will not mourn for me. The end.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Let's look at that poem in the light of satire. Do you think there is satire?
Yes.
What do you think?
No, the son is the father is dead, but the son or whoever is the persona, it did not mourn for the father. So for me, I think that is satirical.
Okay. That's a good attempt. Let's see, Monica, what do you think?
I'm still thinking, madam. Let me try to think.
Okay. All right. Let me raise it. Let me raise my concern about it. Just a minute. Yeah. Now, let me raise an issue there. That when you look at this poem, one of the things that comes out, and one of the ways to help yourself to appreciate literature, whether you're doing narratives, you're doing poems, you're doing a song, you're doing whatever, always, I keep saying, if you put yourself in the shoes of the persona, it becomes easier for you to relate with it. It becomes easier for you to tell exactly what is it we are talking about, And therefore, we say, if you were the son to this man and you're the one who is speaking about your late father, how he has died, and you don't want to mourn for him, what emotions will be coming out? What attitude do you think you'll be having? What is the mood around this poem and around your life as the persona, as the son to this father who has all these
Anger.
challenges? Sorry?
Anger.
Yes, you're angry. Very good. What other emotion would you be feeling around yourself? And who are you angry about? What is making you angry? Who is directed to, who is the recipient of your anger?
The boss.
The boss. Why?
Because the father used to work very, very hard for the boss and building the colonial mansions, but he lived a very poor life. So the son is angry because of the boss, how they mistreated the father, how they underpaid him.
Yes, very good, very good. Thank you very much. That's what I was looking for. That this man, the son, feels offended. He feels very bad that the father has been through so much in the hands of the colonial masters, that these colonial masters have benefited from his workmanship, from his skills, from his labor, you know. He has built mansions. And actually, the mansions are not just mansions. Is it second stanza that says, um, the third one? He built colonial mansions, huge, unwieldy, arrogant constructions, but he's quoted in a sickly madhouse, with his children huddled stantedly. Under the bed he shared with mother, I could not mourn for him. Can you imagine? And especially those days when we had issues of you're a slave, sort of, or you are a house girl, or you are a shamba person, and then you're living in a separate house that is so bad, you don't even have enough food. Whereas your boss, the colonial masters, they have enough to eat and, ya kumwaga. They have so much food. They are eating very good food. But you, the worker in that house, you're not even allowed to carry anything to your house. They cannot even give you something decent to stay. Remember, he has built very arrogant constructions, That means these very people who he has been building the constructions for does not mean he cannot build for himself. If he had the resources, he could have built something for himself. It may not even be a mansion, but something decent, something where his family does not have to squat in a sickly madhouse. At least it's a house that is decent, a house where his children are not huddled stantedly, a house where they do not have to stay under the bed, which he shared with his mother. Can you imagine how bad the situation was? And if you look at this story, you can feel the anger, you can feel the disappointment, you can feel the frustration on behalf of the father, and saying, these colonial masters, I think they misused my father. I think they took advantage of him. I think they colonized him so much. And that's why he's saying his hammer, the saw, and the plane were his tools and his damnation. You see? He was damned. He was already, like, it's a life sentence. It's like a prison. So those tools that he was using were his damnation. They were not a blessing. They were not something to be proud of. They were things that, they were like a life sentence, death sentence. And so he's angry at those colonial masters. And so what are we saying? The author, the persona, is satirizing that kind of a human experience. He's satirizing the lack of kindness. He's satirizing the lack of human, sympathy towards the people that are under you, the people who are disadvantaged, the people who depend on you. I think maybe what the poet is trying to say, or what the persona is trying to say, that even if you may not be able to live the life together with your slave or your workers and give them the best, at least make their lives decent or something like that. And I think this would even go to our current lifestyle, where we have house girls in the house, and the house girl cannot eat food that is cooked. The house girl will eat the leftovers. Yeye hawezi kula kuku, hawezi kula nyama, hawezi serve food like a normal member of that family. Itabidi agoje leftovers zenye tumebakisha ndizo tu atakula, They cannot live in this on this bed. Kitanda ya house girl ndio inakuanga the worst there is in the house, Others don't even have the bed. They have to sleep on the floor. Why? What if that was your child? You wouldn't do that. So the persona is saying that actually there is need for some sense of consideration. If your staff has got small children, make the children have a decent life, sort of, because it is possible for you to do so. So as we talk about satire, for me, I feel like maybe the whole story was to criticize the response, the treatment that the father receives from the white man. It's not fair. He does not receive fairness. He does not receive what he deserves. He deserves much better, considering what he has done for the colonial masters. And so I think, I don't know whether that makes sense. Monica, does that make sense? Demi, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Sorry about that. I think my Wi-Fi just got worse and worse.
Okay.
So I've switched to data so that we don't have the same problem. Kama Monica pia amekuwa na issue, but it's okay, she'll join us. So I don't know where I was by the time I was disappearing, but I was very busy explaining the satire in the poem, the anger that we feel from the father son about the way the father deserved better. He worked for better. He would have been a bit considerate. How we also do the same to our house girls and our workers. We don't treat them with the dignity, the human dignity they deserve. We treat them so badly as if they're not human beings, simply because maybe they are lower than us as far as economic status are concerned and so on. So the poet is satirizing that kind of a response and encouraging being humane, being human, being kind, being considerate, and making sure that the people that are living around us, even if they are disadvantaged as compared to us, they have a better experience about life. So I don't know whether I had you got that, and if we can move on
Yes.
to something else.
Yeah, nimepata.
All right, no problem. So, let me just ask, is there a style that you think we haven't covered? Because I thought we had not done foreshadowing and foreshadowing and what do you call it? And flashback. Do you think, is there any other style that you feel haiko covered vizuri?
I think tumeexhaust sasa.
Just a minute.
Teacher, sarcasm, is it the same as satire?
No. Sarcasm, there is a day I had explained about irony. Do you remember about irony?
Yes, in the
We
same
talked about,
poem we did. Yeah.
yes, we said irony has got how many styles? Has got how many types of irony do we have?
3. We have dramatic, verbal, and dramatic, verbal, and the other one I'm forgetting the other one.
Situational.
Yeah.
Yes. So the situational is where something happens opposite of our expectation. So we call that situational irony. Like, for example, the heads of state being not very serious with their work, tossing the coin, instead of sitting down to deliberate about where Omega and Path Alpha. It's very ironical. We expected better. We expected them to behave better as fathers of nations. So, but when we say situation, that is situational irony, which events are happening against our expectation. Then we said another type of irony is dramatic irony, where we have a situation where the the person on stage does not know something that the audience knows. The audience knows more than the person on stage. The other part of the cast. And so we said, and that happens a lot on plays and skits, where we, the audience, are aware of something, but there is a character who is on stage who is not aware at the moment. We'll get to know that later. We call that dramatic irony. And we see that in the book. We don't have very many examples, but we have a few, like when Pamela's father is found by Dr. Falabi in the convenience store, pale kwa ka supermarket, talking to the girl, trying to some chit chat. And so when she got home, Dr. Falabi didn't go telling the wife, and by the way, do you know I found your father doing this and this? So we, the audience, we know that the man at the convenience store was Pamela's father, but Pamela does not know that his father was creating a kafani scene at the convenience store. So that is dramatic irony. And so we also said the last one is verbal irony. And so verbal is the same as sarcasm. Verbal irony is where you say by word of mouth. Si kama situational. Situational si lazima uongee, but it's still ironical. It's an event happening. But sarcasm is where you say words that are opposite of what you mean. You say this, but you mean something different. So you're being sarcastic. So yes.
Sarcasm is the same as ridiculing.
Yes, it's the same as to ridicule something. When you're sarcastic, is because somebody has done something stupid or something, it doesn't mean well. It's nematusi too. Sarcasm is just being, insulting, but in a humorous way. So it is you're ridiculing. So you are making them feel small because you think they are small. Yeah. So sarcasm is verbal irony. You get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so therefore it's important for you to be able to see all those styles on on an excerpt or a poem. Now, there are some others that probably are just for the sake of it, we could just mention. We talked about metaphor, we talked about simile, we talked about personification, where we give human characteristics to non-living things. I think we talked about hyperbole, which is hyperbole, they call it, which is exaggeration, where we emphasize something, just give an exaggeration. We talk about, seems like you had gone for 500 years. Nakumbe is talking about a few minutes. So why have you been away for 500 years? It's exaggeration. It's not, there's no 500 years that have been used. And so we talked about imagery, and that is when we talked about the metaphor and the simile, alliteration, assonance and consonance. Those ones we talked about. And then I don't know whether we talked about allusion, eh? Did we talk about allusion?
No.
Haya, iandike. Nataka to try as much as you can to make sure that as far as the styles are concerned, tuko sawa. Allusion, let me type it for you. Allusion. Okay, so what is allusion? It comes from the word allude. Maybe I would want to ask you, have you heard of the word allude? Like somebody asks you, what are you alluding to? This discussion, that statement alludes to the fact that, Abu, tell me what is the meaning of the word allude? You can even check it up. Eh?
I'm thinking of something that maybe it's impossible to happen,
Uh-huh.
but I can check.
Not really. Abu, check.
Allude is to suggest or call attention, to indirectly hint at.
Again?
Suggest or call attention, to indirectly hint at.
Okay. To suggest or call for attention. Call?
Call attention to indirectly.
Call
Hint
attention
at.
to.
To indirectly, or to hint at.
Something like you're alluding, like for example, somebody sends you a gift, then you ask them, what is the gift for? What do you mean by this gift? Because wewe unajua hiyo gift si kitu ya kawaida, si wewe tu si wale wengine hawajapewa, ni wewe tu. So what message are you sending? What are you implying? The word allude also looks like implying, what am I supposed to interpret from this gift? Because hakuna mwingine umetumia. So for me, mwenye umetumia, what does it mean? Okay, that's a common usage for the word allude. Eh? Ebu check whether there is another meaning of the word allude. Just check if you'll see another meaning.
Mention without discussing at length. Then
sorry,
mention without discussing at length.
Yes, mention without discussing at length. Okay, that's also almost close to the first definition that we had. That's good. Any other? Okay, check allusion. Check
allusion. Allusion is an expression designed to call something to mind without mentioning it explicit, or an
Without
indirect or passing reference.
good. That is what I was looking for. An indirect something. What is that again?
An indirect or passing reference.
An indirect or passing reference. Very good. An indirect reference. So that is what we are calling allusion. And it's important for us to know it because those are the few, but then, those are the few things that make, especially the excerpts, because kama hiyo swali ya excerpts, sometimes it's 4 marks. So kama hauko comfortable na hizi stylistic devices, those are 4 marks that get lost. And they're so easy, by the way. They're so easy. Excerpts is something that one should be able to achieve very easily. And so when you are conversant with these things, it's easy for you to pick them. So when you talk about allusion, we're talking about referring to a certain, to something else, like a text or something. When you refer to another text, when you refer to another source of information, which is recognized, or something that is something, which word do I use? Something that is appreciated. Let me use the word recognized. Yeah, something that is recognized. You have alluded, you have borrowed, you have referred to another text or something. Of course, those are the meanings, but maybe those may not be very relevant. What is relevant for us is on this one. When you refer to another text. So that is where we talk about the various types of allusion, depending on what you are referring to. Like we have the biblical allusion. I'm sure you've come across that. Not biblical, not biblical, because I see students writing biblical, B-I-B-I, L-I-C-A-L. That word is not biblical, it's biblical, like the word Bible. Bible is not B-I-B-I or something. It is B-I-B-L E or something. So it's biblical allusion. When you talk about biblical allusion, therefore, we are saying that you are borrowing from the Bible. You are referring from the Bible. Like sometimes you can be writing, like maybe this poem on the death of my father. You come across a place where he's quoted a verse in the Bible, or maybe he's come across with a verse in the Bible talking about, come to me, all ye who are weak and heavy laden, or something that you can tell this is biblical. And so in that case, we are saying that there is biblical allusion because he has alluded, he has borrowed from the Bible. So that's a stylistic device. But on the other hand, also we say that sometimes you may not have to borrow from the Bible, but you can borrow from another literary text. You can borrow from another book. Like, for example, you can borrow from another poem. So in your poem, you are quoting another poem, or you're quoting another book that is from somewhere else, not yours. Or you're quoting maybe Chinua Achebe, you're quoting Aristotle, you are quoting all these famous writers who wrote something, and so you're quoting from there. And so that is also called allusion. And you'll always know when there is allusion because they always put quotation marks. They always put quotation marks so that by the end of the day, you're able to differentiate that these are words that are borrowed from from somewhere else. And so we call that allusion. And so it is important for us to be able to note that as a stylistic device. So is that clear to you? Are you able to understand that?
Yes.
All right,
Teacher,
very good. Now,
yeah, there was a time we mentioned something like euphemism.
mhm.
We
Feminism.
listed something. Yeah.
Okay, 1 minute. I was checking something on, just a minute. Yeah, okay. Let me just send you this. Where has it gone to? get it. Euphemism. Euphemism. It is a mild expression replacing a harsh one. A mild expression replacing a harsh one. It's a common style. It's a common style, especially when we are, because we're in a social setup. So though I discourage students from, if you don't understand something, if you don't understand a style, don't stress yourself with it. Don't stress yourself with it. Yeah. So when we use euphemism is normally when we are talking, especially where like there are some things that are culturally unacceptable when you want to say them. For example, if you want to go for a long call, there are some people who will just say it in a very bad way, and because that's a private activity. Si kitu ya kushinda ukishout, and there is a way you can put it until somebody is thinking, yuck, did you have to put it that way? There is a better way of putting it, So when you want to talk, you're going for a long call, instead of saying I'm going for a long call, you can say I'm visiting the ladies. I want to visit the gents. So don't keep explaining what it is you're doing. So when you talk about going to visit the ladies, you are using a mild expression, replacing it with a harsh one. And so whatever you are saying, the two statements, the earlier and the former and the latter, those two statements mean the same. It's only that the second one that you have said, it sounds more classy, it sounds kama umeenda shule kiasi, it sounds more refined, it sounds better, it doesn't sound as harsh, And so even if you want to really rebuke somebody or correct somebody, or just express your displeasure or your unhappiness about something, so you decide that you will use a softer language, and so that is what we call euphemism. Euphemism, not euphemism. Euphemism. Yeah, so you need to be a bit keen for you to identify it in the poem. Yeah, once in a while it will come up, but not all the time. So don't stress with it, saying lazima uipate. If you don't see it, just leave it. Don't let it bother you. And of course, now, there was before we carry on, I think I remember there's something we didn't cover it for the sake of records, the idiophones and onomatopoeia. The idiophones.
Yes.
Yeah. Najaribu kutafutilia vitu zenye hatuja cover because I want us.
There was a poem ilikuwa imeuliza hiyo swali. The
Yes,
swiri something.
yes.
Yeah.
Leaves. Okay. I want you to note down, just note down what are idiophones. Idiophones is written like let me write, because I think that word we also misspell it a lot. Idiophones. Okay, we can write and say that idiophones are sounds, or not sounds, sorry. Idiophones are words that sound just a minute, let me give you something easy. Okay. Abu, I don't know whether you cancel that or you find a way of getting that. we are saying there. What did you say? All right, what did you write? Maura?
Yes,
Maura?
teacher. Yeah.
Oh, you're here?
Yes.
Yes, I was having a call with Mr. Nixon. Was ni kama sahi ndio stima zimerudi, so I was telling him hakuna hajaingia sahi na unaona masaa imeenda, wacha tumalize tu, then we'll have another day. No problem. So let's carry on with the idea phones. What did you write?
There are words that sound. Tulifikisha hapo.
Mm. Maybe you could say, just give me a minute so that I can come up with something that is easy. Nikuandikie hapo. Aya, umeona hiyo?
Yeah.
There are words whose sound mimic or resemble the natural sounds in the actions. Write that down. All right. So when you talk about idiophones, therefore, we are saying that they are sounds, they are words that mimic or resemble the natural sounds in the action. That means there is an action, there is something that is being done, but that action, that is a verb. The sound that is produced by that action, is the same one that we are using. I don't know whether that makes sense. So the word and the sound produced are the same. The action produced, the action, like the bees buzzed, the bees buzzing, you know. What sound do the bees make? There's the buzz. So the zzz, it's buzzing. The buzz and the buzz have the same, the action of buzzing and the sound that is produced, they resemble. You get? The snake hissed. How does the snake, what does the, what smell? What sound does the snake make?
Hissing sound.
Yes. So it is not called something else, it's called hissing. Hisses, you know. So the sound and the action they resemble, they have the same sound. I know the word sound is what is confusing us, but I hope you understand. So where the words, the word describing the sound and the sound itself, they are the same. Like the cows mowed, you know, the mowing of the cows, you know. What does the cow do? It mows, you know, and so on. So when you talk about idiophones, therefore, you look at those sounds that sound like the actions themselves. So I hope that is clear. So if you look at the poem that we had, the what? The crop thieves, you'll see their idiophones there. Maybe before we finish up, we'd want to have a look at them. But before we go there, let's look at onomatopoeia. 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 The other day, I wanted to check on the pronunciation of that word. Let me check for a minute.
Onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia. Just a minute.
Poeia.
Me, I don't like working very hard in getting it, so that at least I will not fail in the pronunciation. Are you able to hear from my end?
Yes, I can hear you, teacher.
You can hear onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia.
Yeah, so the
Onomatopoeia.
pronunciation is onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia. Okay.
Onomatopoeia. Yeah, so but the oeia is good for us to know, so you are spelling it. But ideally, the oeia that changes into onomatopoeia, or whatever. But yeah, sawa. So we are saying that's where we are. the onomatopoeia. 1 minute. Give me a minute. In the meantime, you can be looking at that poem, the crop thieves.
Okay. So you've said the crop thief.
Yes.
Okay.
I hope you can see one of them. Do you see any?
The sounds.
Yeah.
I can see the yo-yo. At home is yo-yo. I also can see hoa, suya, the funny sound.
Yeah. You're just picking the funny ones. Yeah. Ideally, actually, there's a very thin line between ideophones and onomatopoeia. There's a very thin line between them, onomatopoeia, very thin in the sense that, in fact, sometimes we are not very sure which is bigger than the other one, which is whatever. But me, how I sort them out. Let me explain that. How I sort them out. Now here I look like I'm correcting myself. On the onomatopoeia, I like to use them more for the sounds, the similar sounds. This is personal. This is how I do it. The ones for buzzing and hissing and mowing and all that, I use them for onomatopoeia. But then kuna zile za the pang, like maybe he walked, the horse galloped, or the horse was riding or something, and then there is a sound that you're given that makes it sound like how the galloping of the horses was, or the riding was, so you're banging the table, bang bang bang. So when you bang it, there is a sound that is produced, and that sound is a bang. It's a bang sound. And so that can fall under onomatopoeia. But there's those words that they're not words. There are those sounds, but they're not words. Like you see bang, there is a word B-A-N-G that is found in the dictionary. There is the word H-I-S-S, his, is a word in the dictionary. There are those ones that when they produce sounds, and those sounds cannot be interpreted into words. So they are legitimate sounds, but they're not words. They cannot be found in the dictionary. So me, Those are the ones I call idiophones. Onomatopoeia are the ones now hizo zenye zinaweza patikana kwa dictionary. So I'm not very sure how correct that is, by the way. I'm not very sure how correct that is. I need to find out from my colleagues. But normally, on a normal day, I will call them either of them, and I don't know whether that is correct. But as long as I'm able to know that this sound that is being produced is either onomatopoeia or idiophones, at least that way you have a way of getting away with it. And you see, like now that poem, The Crop Thieves, those words, we don't know them in our language. They don't make sense. They're not English words. And so for me, let me ask you, where would you classify those words? Are they idiophones or are they onomatopoeia?
I would classify them in the onomatopoeia. Those
Mhm.
funny ones. There's another one, tupu tupu.
Mhm.
Mm,
You'd
I
classify
would
it an onomatopoeia?
yes.
Mhm. Me, I would classify them under idiophones.
Ah,
Because I don't know, I think I'll need to clarify. I'll need to confirm with my colleagues. Ebu let me confirm that, because my thinking is that idiophones ni hizo zenye haziwezi make sound ya dictionary ya English word. The sounds do not make an English word. So those are more of idiophones. Onomatopoeia, I think they can form an English word. Those sounds form an English word. But allow me to inquire. It's always good when you're not sure about something. Yeah?
the hissing and the buzzing under the onomatopoeia.
Yes, the hissing and the buzzing is the onomatopoeia, but I need to confirm. Allow me to confirm so that nisikwambia kitu na kumbe haiko very accurate, ndio?
I think ni ukweli teacher. Fonts ni zile funny zenye you can't explain the word itself.
Idiophones,
Yes.
hizo zenye hazina, you can't even call them a word, ni kama tu ni sound, ni sounds tu zenye hazi
Sounds,
make
yeah.
sense.
Yes.
Sawa. All right. So at least I think right now, I'm hoping right now when you brought that question on stylistic devices, hautastruggle nayo sana.
Yes, siwezi struggle, siwezi kosa kadhaa.
Yeah. Sawa sawa. Mi naona kama tunaweza malizia hiyo lesson hapo leo. Tuseme we thank God for giving us the grace to go through with it. I didn't think I would survive through it. Tuseme those 30 minutes zikuwe kama commercial break.
Yeah, ni sawa, but mi nilikuwa bado na question ya ile
Go ahead.
ya registration. I don't know whether it can happen this week ya nini ya midterm. Sijui kama ulipata mahali
Ile ya sikupata jio nini?
registration
Or
ya exam.
yes. I was talking to my friend. There's one of my friends who is who knows let me say anajua mashimo ni mtu mwenye anaweza she's a bit exposed so I mentioned to her like 2 weeks ago akaniambia Martha, sahi niko training na I will need to think about that and see how I can help you. So akaniambia tuongee next week. So next week ni this week. Sasa this week ndio hiyo sijaweza kumpigia, but I'll call her tomorrow first thing in the morning. Now that we are done, I will call her tomorrow nimkumbushe, but niambia her, I know it's a bit easier for her because she interacts with many heads of schools so allow me to get back to you tomorrow. Sawa sawa.
Please ndio nijue kama itawezekana in this nini midterm days. Utaniambia kwanza utaniambia.
Nitakwambia my dear.
Okay, thank you. Na
You're
upone.
welcome. Yes, sawa, thank you. I just need to sleep. I think I'm just fatigued. Think I've taken in so much. I've just been very busy with some things. I know this midterm nikilalala nitakuwa sawa.
Okay, good night. Tichana utakumbuka kutuma zile papers nilitoa. I have 3 zenye nitafanya
You have
sasa nimefotocopy zile za Swahili na English zingine zenye ulikuwa umetuma
eh,
3 nitazifanya kesho.
okay.
Ukipata hizo zingine unitumie ni photocopy.
Kabisa kabisa. I'm on it.
Okay.
I'm on it. Sawa,
Haya,
good night.
asante. Good night.